listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky Duraeus. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky Duraeus right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to review Friday Night SmackDown from June 30th, 2023, coming to us from the O2 Arena in London, England. Of course, it is the go-home show before tomorrow's Money in the Bank pay-per-view, emanating, of course, from London at the O2. Overall thoughts on this show. I thought this show, was it the best show? No. Was it the best go-home show? No. But really what made up this show, in my opinion, was the atmosphere in the crowd in London. Of course, you UK fans out there, man, you guys are absolutely fucking crazy, man. When LA Knight came out, the crowd absolutely popped for this man. It goes to show you that, hey, you guys need to put the Money in the Bank briefcase on LA Knight, not Logan Paul, because LA Knight literally generates a legit, genuine reaction from the audience. And that is what you want in a wrestler. Logan Paul, really, he's fine as a heel. I mean, his promos ain't that bad, but let's be real here. Who wants the Money in the Bank on Logan Paul? Nobody. LA Knight gives you that genuine reaction, and literally, LA Knight has the crowd in the palm of his goddamn hands. Of course, we also had the Bloodline exploding, of course, a day before their big tag team match. It's going to be taking place tomorrow at Money in the Bank, and of course, it is the Bloodline Civil War, as Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa take on the Usos. And is Solo Sikoa setting himself up to be the next tribal chief? They definitely planted the seeds on this edition of SmackDown in that fantastic closing segment to close the show. Asuka, of course, defends her WWE Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair, a match that nobody gave a crap about, and a match that ended in a DQ with Bianca Belair, as well as we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on Pretty Deadly for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. So we're definitely going to be talking about a lot of stuff right here on the SmackDown review. But before I get on with everything regarding Friday Night SmackDown, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, if you guys had missed it, episode 20 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast is up on the channel. We talk about who should win the Money in the Bank, or I should say we all know who should win the Money in the Bank. And I talk about the split debate. I don't want to really call it a debate, but there's a portion of fans that want Logan Paul to win, and there's a portion of fans that want LA Knight to win. But it's pretty obvious who should win the Money in the Bank, and it's clearly right on the thumbnail if you guys see right there. But if you guys haven't checked out episode 20 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, the link will be in the description below. I also give my predictions for tomorrow's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Also, the AEW Dynamite review is up on the channel. I talk about, of course, Sting taking that crazy fall, or, just drop, whatever you want to call it. It was a crazy-ass spot, and honestly, I was legit scared for Sting's health. This week's AEW Dynamite really wasn't the best episode of Dynamite. Nothing really special happened on the show. All I can remember is Sting's crazy spot. Also, of course, Blood and Guts has been announced, and that will be taking place July 19th at the TD Garden in Boston. So definitely looking forward to that. But the Dynamite review is up on the channel if you guys had missed it. Both the Dynamite review and episode 20 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast are in the links in the description below. Let's start off with SmackDown. Of course, the crowd is absolutely hot for this show, as well as tomorrow's show. They're going to be even hotter tomorrow. at the O2 in London. Of course, we got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on Pretty Deadly for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. This was a pretty normal tag team match. I mean, the crowd was all over Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. These guys are mega over with the audience. Every time when WWE has pay-per-views, overseas, and they go to a different part of the world, like maybe Saudi Arabia, the UK, Cardiff, Puerto Rico even, the reactions for some of these guys are absolutely ridiculously insane. And you gotta love it, man, because these guys, they haven't, especially in the UK, they don't really get a lot of major wrestling shows. I mean, they're getting two, especially in London. We got, of course, Money in the Bank tomorrow, and we also got AEW All In happening in August as well. So the UK is definitely cooking, man. They are definitely cooking, but the reactions for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were fantastic, man. I even saw a tweet on Twitter while they were making their entrance, man. They were like rock star entrances. Like, they came out looking like rock stars. But of course, they take on Pretty Deadly for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, and it's safe to say that Pretty Deadly was not going to be getting the win. I didn't really give a shit about Pretty Deadly in this match, but let's go through the match. I didn't really take a lot of notes on the match. Usually, like near the end, I kind of took notes, but Kevin Owens goes crazy. He takes out Elton Prince. He hits a running senton on Wilson on the outside. We get a super kick on Prince, and then he goes for the cannonball in the corner. Kevin Owens then, at this point, is selling his ankle. He goes to the top, and he ends up hitting the Swanton Bomb. After that, we get a cover and a near fall when Wilson makes the save. Sami goes after Kit Wilson, but then after that, he sends Wilson to the outside. Kevin Owens goes for the stunner, but then Wilson pushes him off. After that, Sami gets sent to the steel steps. Elton Prince then goes for a series of chop blocks on Kevin Owens on the injured knee. Wilson tags in. He ends up hitting the code breaker, a.k.a. the Play Martini. I think that's what it's called, the Play Martini. That's what that move was, but that clearly was a fucking code breaker. We get a cover and a near fall. Prince tags in. Then they hit the split milk. After that, we get a cover and a near fall when Sami makes the save. Sami then gets taken to the outside. Wilson gets taken to the outside, but then Kevin Owens goes for a German on Prince. After that, the hot tag is made. Sami ends up going for the Blue Thunder Bomb. We then get a cover by Sami and a near fall. Wilson then pokes the eye of Sami, and then Prince and Wilson switch. And what happens is basically Prince and Wilson switch, and Wilson is actually behind Sami Zayn, and Sami actually thinks he's going to go after Wilson, but he's not realizing that both members of Pretty Deadly switch sides and switch placements. So what happens is we get a roll up from behind and a near fall. After that, we get an uppercut by Kit Wilson, and then he sends Sami into the corner. Sami Zayn ends up going for the exploder suplex, but then Kevin Owens comes in. After that, he hits the stunner on Prince, and then Sami goes for the fucking haluva kick, and the crowd went absolutely insane in London for the haluva kick, and we get a cover, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens retain the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Overall thoughts on this match? It was not, I don't want to say a hot opener. It was a normal match to kick off the show. I mean, you knew for a fact Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were going to get a big ass reaction, because if you think about it, they're mega over with the audience, not just in the UK, but everywhere else. Especially Sami Zayn, man. The crowd was singing Sami Zayn's theme song as they were walking towards the ring. Really, again, the main story for this whole show, the biggest takeaway for this SmackDown show, of course, it is the go-home show for before Money in the Bank, but the biggest takeaway that I can give you for this SmackDown show was just the enthusiasm and just the passion from the audience. Because the fans in the UK, man, people need to realize this, but the UK is such a strong market for wrestling. Not only that, they have the most passionate fans you could ever ask for. People talk about places like Chicago. They talk about places like New York or Philadelphia. Those types of cities in the U.S. But markets like the U.K., man, it's on a different level. Literally on a different level. So hats off to the crowd in London. But Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn retain. Where are they going to go from here? We're going to have to wait and see. We really do not know where they're going to be going after, but definitely going to be very interesting to see what WWE does with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. After that, we got Austin Theory taking on Rich Holland in a championship contenders match. I think the idea of a championship contenders match is absolutely fucking stupid. Same thing, AEW does that with the Eliminator. It's basically the same concept. The supposed quote-unquote challenger challenges the champion in a non-title match, and if the challenger or the future challenger beats the champion in this non-title match, they are granted a title shot with the same person. In my opinion, that makes absolutely no goddamn sense. We got Austin Theory taking on Rich Holland in a championship contenders match. Of course, Rich Holland, throughout the entirety of this match, has been selling his throat because he got hit with the Samoan Spike last week on the show by Solo Sikoa in a backstage segment. But the match was relatively short. Both lock up. We get a side headlock by Theory. After that, Holland takes him into the corner. We then get a series of body shots by Rich Holland, and then we get a knee by Holland. After that, we get an uppercut, and then Theory is on the apron. Holland then catches Theory, but then he proceeds to spin him around. After that, after he spins him around, he picks him and slams him down with a double underhook. After that, we get a kick by Theory, but then Theory sends Holland into the corner. He ends up hitting a right hand, and then we get a cover and a near fall. And then he hits repeated right hands on Rich Holland. He proceeds to stomp on Austin Theory, but then Holland goes for the shoulder tackle, and then he throws him down, and then he ends up hitting a northern-like suplex. After that, Ridge takes him down once again. Theory is on the apron, but then we get a right hand taken to the outside, and then he throws, basically, Theory, targets the throat of Rich Holland. After that, he ends up hitting the rolling shotgun dropkick through the ropes on the throat of Rich Holland, and then we get a cover, and Austin Theory wins the match. After the match, Theory goes after Rich Holland and hits him with right hands, a series of right hands, I should say. And then Sheamus comes out. Of course, Sheamus, the leader, you should say, of the Brawlin' Brutes, runs to the ring. He tries to go for the bro kick, but, of course, Austin Theory retreats. Overall thoughts on this match. It was a relatively short match. Nothing really special happened. Of course, next week we're going to be getting Austin Theory versus Sheamus for the United States Championship, and I honestly pray to God that Sheamus takes that title away from Austin Theory, because if you really think about it, Austin Theory is doing nothing with the United States Championship. Ever since he beat John Cena at WrestleMania, WWE has done nothing. Absolutely nothing with Austin Theory. They keep talking about the fact about how he beat John Cena, but let's be honest with ourselves. That win over John Cena did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing for Austin Theory. Austin Theory is just not in the place he should be right now. And WWE is just not really focused on Austin Theory right now. Let's be honest. The real mid-card champion in WWE is Gunther. Gunther, they are focused on, and rightfully so, because Gunther, they know they are going to have a main event player in the future with Gunther, and right now he's showing his dominance as the IC champion. Over on SmackDown with Austin Theory, forget about it. The U.S. title scene is just absolutely fucking atrocious. I don't really want to say the U.S. title scene. It's really the title reign of Austin Theory. His title reign was not really the best, especially after WrestleMania. Nothing special at all with Austin Theory. So hopefully Sheamus can beat Austin Theory at next week on SmackDown. After that, we get a video package of Karrion Kross with Scarlett. He says, AJ Styles, he's one of the most decorated. Oh, WWE loves that word. Decorated. It's like I always hear that word every fucking week. Oh my God, he's one of the most decorated guys in WWE. One of the most decorated competitors of all time. Last time they stepped in the ring, when he felt him gasp for air. What the fuck am I talking about? When he felt him gasp for air, he felt phenomenal. It was a game of chess, and he beat him in only 3 moves. And now, next week, checkmate, TikTok. So yeah, we got a match, it looks like next week, between AJ Styles and Karrion Kross. Could I care? At this point, I just don't care at all. I hate to be the guy that says this, because I was so hyped when Karrion Kross made his return to WWE last year. One of the first moves that Triple H made ever since he took over creative was to bring back Karrion Kross, because they knew Karrion Kross got fucked over on the main roster the previous time when he was NXT champion. Think about this. In his first match on the main roster, he was NXT champion, and he lost to Jeff Hardy in like less than 3 minutes. They fucking buried this guy. Now, keep in mind, NXT is on the USA Network, the same network as Raw. Karrion Kross, meanwhile, on NXT was doing dominant things as the NXT champion. Meanwhile, on the same network, on a different show, he loses Jeff Hardy in 3 minutes. That was bullshit. But let's be honest with the run that Karrion Kross is having now. I had hopes for his run, but it looks like Karrion Kross is not really doing the things that he's supposed to be doing. I kind of view Karrion Kross on par with Keith Lee in AEW right now. I like Keith Lee, I like Karrion Kross, but they're not really doing what they should be doing in their respective promotions, in my opinion. After that, we got a very well-produced video package of the Bloodline. Very, very, very produced video package, man. Like, I don't give a shit what anybody says. You can hate on WWE all you want, but these guys are masters at production, and they are masters at producing video packages. When they produce their own video packages, man, WWE literally informs you with everything that you need to know. And that is the beauty of the video package realm of World Wrestling Entertainment. After that, we got Bayley versus Shotzi. If Bayley loses this match, she forfeits her Money in the Bank spot to Shotzi Blackheart. Short match. Bayley was going to get the win regardless. It would make no sense for Bayley to put her shot on the line. We're going to go through this match. We get a kick by Shotzi into near fall. Shotzi misses a knee, but then Bayley retreats to the outside. We then get a suicide dive. After that, once we're back into the ring, Bayley goes for a belly-to-belly. And then we get a cover by Bayley and a near fall, and then by Shotzi. And then after that, later on, Bayley goes for repeated right hands. Bayley tries to pick up Shotzi, but then Shotzi ends up hitting a DDT on Bayley. Shotzi goes for repeated right hands, but then we get a knee by Shotzi, and then Shotzi goes for the Enziguri. We then get a roll-up by Bayley and a near fall. And then we get a running senton onto the back of Bayley by Shotzi into the corner. Shotzi then drops Bayley down into the corner, but then we get a cover by Shotzi and a near fall when Io Sky helps put Bayley's foot on the bottom rope. After that, Shotzi goes after Io, but then Bayley grabs the eyes of Shotzi without the referee looking, and then she ends up hitting the Rose Plant, and we get a cover, and Bayley wins the match, so she will be staying in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Backstage, Shotzi's pissed off at Bayley and Io Sky. After that, both women beat the hell out of one another, and then both slam her on the table, and then they proceed to cut the green hair of Shotzi Blackheart. It made no sense for Bayley to put her spot on the line one day before her match, her being a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Like, what the fuck was the point of this? You were going to do nothing with Shotzi, so what the fuck was the point of this whole match? Just think about it. Why would she put her spot on the line like that? It just makes Bayley look absolutely fucking stupid at this point. We got the Grayson Waller effect with Logan Paul. Grayson Waller says we are 24 hours away from Money in the Bank, and his guess is one of the favorites, yeah, fucking right, to win the Money in the Bank ladder match, and it's one of the fastest rising stars in our industry. He's already a star even outside of WWE. I don't want to call him a rising star. In the UK, he is the man that made KSI famous. Ladies and gentlemen, the social media megastar Logan Paul. Logan Paul comes out. Large boos in London. These London fans love Logan, and tomorrow night he competes in his very first Money in the Bank ladder match. Grayson Waller asks, what would it mean to him to have a contract that guarantees him a match anywhere, anytime against any champion? Logan replies, well, in London, it would mean a whole lot, and then he proceeds to laugh. London, you guys might be going crazy, but he doesn't know why that they are booing because we've seen him compete against every champion in this organization. Guess what? His dreams don't end until he has WWE gold around his belt. Huh? I don't know. You got to check your grammar right there, man. So tomorrow, when he wins that contract, he can call his shot on anyone he wants. He can get his revenge on Seth freaking Rollins, finish what he started, and take down the tribal chief. Yeah, like that's going to fucking happen. And hell, he may not cash in and instead smack LA Knight across the head with the briefcase. And he says that briefcase is the key. And then what happens? The megastar LA Knight comes out. And let me tell you guys, the pop in London for this man was big as fuck. That pop was huge. Holy shit. Of course, Mr. LA Knight, how over this man is. He's like, let me talk to ya. Yeah. That's my little LA Knight impression, ladies and gentlemen. He says he will give, one thing to Logan Paul. He's been proven a lot with everything that he has been given. But that's the key, what he has been given. Meanwhile, he's walked out here, and he hasn't been given a damn thing. And every time he walks in here, the whole world jumps to their feet, feeling like Abroka, because he made it that way. Yeah. And he says, here's the thing. He has all the respect in the world for the fact that he can go and make himself a social media star or, a star on YouTube. But right now, you are standing in my ring. So tomorrow night, you are looking at that case. The odds are on him for a reason because he is the one and the only megastar with everybody saying L.A. Knight. Yeah. And then Logan replies, what's funny is that he keeps saying megastar, but megastar to who? Because all he sees in front of him is a guy who was supposed to be a manager in the WWE after 20 years of a lackluster career. He is lucky he is addressing him as Mr. Mega Manager. And then LA Knight laughs. And then we get the LA Knight chants by the crowd in London. And then he says, if you ain't heard, you ain't listening hard enough. London, tell him whose game this is. And then the crowd just goes, LA Knight, yeah, by the crowd. And then Logan says, y'all, go back to the pub and go drunk and, go home. And then what happens is Santos Escobar comes out. And he says, let me get one thing straight. Logan says he wants this, and Knight says he already wants it. But he is the one that needs this. And if they all act loco, they will find themselves with a Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank, both from the LWO. Butch runs in the ring, and then Butch runs through Logan Paul. Santos takes out LA Knight on the outside, but then both Logan Paul and Butch run through the announce table. Once we're back from commercial break, we got a triple threat match with Santos, Escobar, Butch, and LA Knight. Very random triple threat match, and it was a very quick match. So really, what was the point of this match? Probably to kill time, but it made no sense. LA Knight goes for a DDT on Santos. We get repeated kicks into the corner on Butch. Butch lands on his feet, but then LA Knight gets taken to the outside. We got a German by Butch on LA Knight, but then LA Knight drives him down. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Santos Escobar comes in, but then we get a Hurricane Rana by Santos. We then get a Hurricane Rana on LA Knight, and then he drives his knees on both LA Knight and Butch. He takes Butch to the top, but then we get a Hurricane Rana by Santos, and then we get a cover by Santos and a near fall. Santos then proceeds to pick up LA Knight, and then LA Knight proceeds to escape, but then LA Knight slams down Santos Escobar. He then hits the elbow drop, and then we get a cover by LA Knight and a near fall. LA Knight then faces off with Logan Paul on the outside. Santos ends up going for a tope on Logan Paul instead of LA Knight. After that, we get a knee by Santos, and then Butch goes for the enziguri. And then Santos goes to the top, but then Butch catches Santos with a kick, but then Butch ends up going for the bitter end. And then we get a cover, and Butch gets the win. After the match, Butch climbs the ladder. LA Knight comes in. He proceeds to climb the ladder, but then Logan Paul comes in, and he climbs the ladder himself, but then Butch comes in and clotheslines Butch to the outside, that being Logan Paul, clotheslining Butch to the outside. And then Butch, of course, or I should say, Butch comes in, and then he clotheslines Logan Paul to the outside, and then Butch climbs the ladder and holds up the briefcase. My apologies. My notes got fucked up. But overall, let's talk about this whole segment. If there is any indication on who should win Money in the Bank, it's LA Knight. No other man. Really, the only other man that is logical to win Money in the Bank is Damian Priest. But honestly, the amount of popularity right now that LA Knight has, I feel like the fans would fucking riot if LA Knight didn't win the Money in the Bank tomorrow night. The LA Knight at this point needs to win Money in the Bank. WRKD Wrestling reported, and I talked about this on episode 20 of the podcast, that, WWE, of course, the top two contenders to win the Money in the Bank right now is LA Knight and Damian Priest. But there is a pitch for Logan Paul to win the Money in the Bank because, it can garner publicity. I understand that perspective from the business end, but at the same time, you don't need to put the belt on Logan Paul for you to garner publicity. Because the minute Logan Paul steps into that ring, you will already garner that publicity. So really, what is the point if you think about it? So it really makes no sense. Not only that, I also talked about how if Logan Paul did win the Money in the Bank and he did cash in on Seth Rollins and actually won the title against Seth Rollins, it would basically, everything that WWE has told you on television about how important the World Heavyweight Championship is and how it's a workhorse championship, they throw that shit all the way out the window. Because, again, the whole point of the World Heavyweight Championship being unveiled to begin with was because of the fact that Roman Reigns is a part-time guy. He has both titles, and if they put the belt on Logan Paul, you will not only have one part-time champion, you will have two part-time champions, and WWE cannot afford that creatively, in my opinion. So, again, the logical winner to win this match is LA Knight, period. LA Knight should win this match. He's not going to cash in immediately. You have a whole year to figure out what you want to do with LA Knight when it comes to the Money in the Bank briefcase. So hopefully WWE makes the right decision tomorrow because clearly LA Knight is super over with the audience in London. After that, AJ Styles is backstage, and he says, you think this is a game of chess? He beat Karrion Kross, or I should say Karrion Kross beat him in 3 moves because he doesn't play by the rules. If he can't keep his poodle on her leash, he has someone who will. And, of course, he says he accepts the challenge, and, of course, Mia Yim is on the camera as well. We got Charlotte and Asuka for the WWE Women's Championship. This was a short match as well, and thank Christ that Charlotte was not going to be winning this match, because if Charlotte won this match, not only the crowd in London would have rioted, but I would have been pissed. Bianca Belair has a ticket and is in the front row. If a wrestler has a ticket in the front row, shit is going to go down. I mean, it's Wrestling 101. What the fuck? The match starts. We get a series of chops by Charlotte. Charlotte ends up going for a boot, and then Charlotte ends up going for the suplex. After that, she gets caught with the double knees, and then we get a boot by Charlotte, and then we get a cover by Charlotte and a near fall. Charlotte then stomps over Asuka, but then Charlotte goes to the top. Asuka then pulls her back, but then we get a boot by Charlotte. Asuka ends up going for the backstabber. Once we're back from commercial break, Charlotte is on the top. She lands on her feet, and then she goes for another moonsault. So she basically pulls an Andrade. She hits the moonsault off the top, and then she lands on her feet, and then she tries to go for another moonsault, but then she misses. Asuka goes for the armbar. Charlotte tries to go for the figure eight, but then what happens is Asuka goes for the roll-up, and we get a near fall. Charlotte immediately goes for a spear. So it's basically spot after spot after spot. We get a cover by Charlotte and a near fall. Charlotte then goes to the top when Asuka is on the outside. She ends up hitting a moonsault on the outside on Asuka. She barely hit Asuka. Like she landed on the floor. Like if you really think about it, she barely landed on Asuka if you really look at that spot. We get a series of chops on Asuka in front of Bianca Belair. Charlotte by accident boots Bianca when Asuka ducks. And what happens is Asuka gets dropped on the apron. Asuka rolls back to the outside, but then Bianca comes in and she is pissed, and she ends up hitting a right on Asuka. Proceeds to cause a DQ. Bianca looks pissed off. She exposes the announce table, but what happens is Charlotte is in the ring, but then she leaves the ring, and she is behind Bianca Belair. Both women argue. Of course, Charlotte, it was her match. She got fucked over. After that, Bianca goes for a right on Charlotte, but then Charlotte goes for a right. Charlotte tries to go for the spear, but instead lands on the steel steps. Bianca picks up Asuka, and she hits the KOD on the announce table. Bianca picks up Charlotte, and then she hits the KOD on top of Asuka, who is on top of the announce table. Definitely a different side of Bianca Belair now. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about how we could possibly set ourselves up for a one-on-one program with Charlotte and Bianca Belair. That could still possibly be the case, but with the involvement of Asuka, I doubt that's going to be the case. It looks like maybe in the future we're probably going to be getting a triple threat between these women, but one thing I will say is that even though I didn't really care for what was going on after the match was over, I do, a lot of people were even talking about this all over social media, man. This was a different side of Bianca Belair. If we are saying, if WWE, now, we do not know if this is going to be the case, but if WWE is planting the seeds, per se, of a possible heel turn with Bianca Belair, sign me the fuck up, because I genuinely believe Bianca Belair's title run, in my opinion, has been relatively stale in WWE. And honestly, I just believe that, when it comes to Bianca Belair's, title reign, even though it was probably one of the longest reigns in the women's division, it was nothing really special coming out of it. And Asuka winning the title was definitely the right decision to make. And I talked about this on the Night of Champions review. So honestly, hopefully WWE does something with Bianca Belair after this. Do I expect a heel turn? Maybe, but I doubt WWE will do that. But great, stuff by Bianca Belair. After that, we got Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and the Bloodline segment. This was fucking awesome. Of course, this is 24 hours before the Bloodline officially implodes, and it will be Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns taking on the Usos. The Bloodline Civil War will begin, but tonight on SmackDown, the Bloodline explodes. So Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman make their entrance, a long-ass entrance. And by the way, one thing I forgot to note regarding the SmackDown show, and I said the same thing when they were in Puerto Rico for Backlash. Well, I don't even think I reviewed the Puerto Rico show for SmackDown. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I did review Backlash. But the thing I will say about, the production-wise, I love the setup for London, for SmackDown. It kind of reminisces of, like, the old school of, like, the 90s and the 80s. how there's like no entranceway. Like there's an entranceway, but it's a small entranceway. I actually like that. I don't know why. I just like it. You know, it's more grounded towards what you see in the ring, because usually when it comes towards a WWE production, you know, you have this big ass LED screen. I like what they did here in London. They did the same thing for Backlash, but I love what they did for London as well, and they're going to do the same thing for Money in the Bank. But Roman Reigns is in the ring. London, acknowledge me, says Roman. He says for a long time, maybe 2 years, he's allowed the Bloodline and his cousins to come out and say, "We the ones." But the truth is, we ain't the ones. He is the one. He is the only one. And he knows we're thinking that, oh yeah, he's arrogant, he is a narcissist. But in reality, he is the best. He is the greatest of all time. He is the head of the table. He is the tribal chief. Nah, what is he talking about? He is the only one that cares about his cousins. He is the only one that loves the Usos. He is the only one who's given them shot after shot after shot and lifted them into the promised land. What sucks is that family betrays you. That's what sucks. The most important thing is that he is the only one who wants to give them a second chance. And he's done this before. But when they mess up, he gives them a third. He gives them a fourth. He gives them a fifth. He gives them a sixth. He gives them so many chances. But as the tribal chief, he will give them an infinite amount. But what you need to do, come out here, bow down, acknowledge me, and apologize, and let's move on. And then the Usos come out. Usos, Jimmy says, you know, he thinks he has it all twisted. Do you think they try to get back into the bloodline? Let's spit facts. They are past the acknowledgement. They are past the abuse. It's all about the consequences. Their family is talking. Yeah, the family is talking. The entire NY family is talking. What happens if he loses? When was the last time he's been pinned? 3 years ago. Tomorrow he will get pinned. Tomorrow night they will go to war at Money in the Bank. And when he loses, he is the only one out. And guess what? When he loses, he won't be the tribal chief no more. He doesn't want to be the tribal chief. Hey, Jimmy, do you want to be the tribal chief? Hell nah, I don't want to be the tribal chief. He has someone that might fit the job. Even though he tripping, he has his vote, and he's got his vote too. And Roman, and you know who it is, Roman looks at Solo. And Roman fucking laughs. And then after that, we get a bunch of Solo chants by the crowd. And Solo looks at Roman, and Roman switches from his laughter to his anger. And Roman is pissed and says, "Shut your mouth. What are you talking to him? What are you talking about that? You think this is a game?" And then Jimmy goes up on the apron. And Roman says he is nothing without him. Roman says that they don't care about you. But what happens is Jay shoves Roman in the face. Jimmy, when Roman comes back, Jimmy immediately super kicks the hell out of Roman Reigns. A brawl breaks loose. Jay is in the ring. Jay goes for repeated rights on Roman, but then what happens is we get a super kick on security. After that, we get a Superman punch by Roman on Jey Uso. The brawl is just continuing on. Roman comes in with all the security on the outside, but then Jay runs over the top rope and takes out everybody, and the show ends. What are my thoughts on this closing segment when it comes to the Bloodline, and of course the Bloodline Civil War that we are going to be seeing tomorrow at Money in the Bank? This was phenomenal. I love how they planted the stones. They planted the seeds for what eventually could be a scenario in which Solo Sikoa could break away from Roman Reigns. Because it's not a matter of if it will happen. It is a matter of when. It's definitely going to be happening. There's going to be a time where Solo Sikoa creatively, is going to realize, and in kayfabe, of course, there's going to be a time where Solo is going to realize, shit, Roman is using me just like he used Jimmy and Jay. Now I'm going to team up with my brothers because you put family over ego. That is basically the story that they're going to tell. Now, it looks like probably after Money in the Bank, we're going to be building up to SummerSlam, and then we're going to be getting Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns one-on-one. Because, again, I talked about this for weeks and for months. Jey Uso is the catalyst to all of this stuff going on. And he was there when this whole bloodline thing was starting. So if you really think about it, Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns makes sense. But Solo Sikoa leading the Bloodline and being the next tribal chief makes sense as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but this was a phenomenal segment. Who do I think is going to be winning at Money in the Bank? Honestly, and I talked about this on episode 20 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. This honestly could go either way. It could either go with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa winning, or it can go towards the Usos winning. A lot of people are talking about how Roman Reigns could get pinned. I do not think Roman Reigns could get pinned dead center in the ring. I think they're going to be protecting Roman Reigns all the way until next year's WrestleMania. But who knows? I mean, could it be a good thing or a bad thing if Roman Reigns got pinned? It'd be a bad thing in a sense of you're trying to build Roman Reigns as this unstoppable and, one of the most dominant champions in WWE history. But if you're looking at storyline-wise sake, just story's sake and not accolades sake, if you're really looking at storyline-wise stake, it technically would make sense if Roman took the fall, because then it escalates the story of, Roman Reigns and the bloodline cracking, and Roman Reigns, his kingdom is falling apart. That is just me. Do I want Roman Reigns to get pinned tomorrow night at Money in the Bank? No, I do not see that happening. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went down. Solo Sikoa most likely is going to be taking the pin. I do see the Usos getting the win. But I do also see possibly Solo Sikoa and, Roman Reigns kind of splitting from one another and Solo joining his brothers. Or maybe the tension starting to really arise with Solo and Roman. And then we head on from there, of course, in the next couple of weeks, building up towards SummerSlam, which is going to be in, how many weeks? I have no idea. It's going to be a long-ass time. But still, I'm definitely interested to see what's going to be going on in this whole Bloodline Civil War, man. This should be the main event for Money in the Bank. Now, there was some reports, and I believe Michael Cole even stated on commentary that Cody Rhodes and Dominic Mysterio is going to be the main event for Money in the Bank. And if that is the case, that is the stupidest decision that WWE can make. Clearly, the Bloodline stuff is your top story in WWE. Why the fuck that is not? Why the fuck that's not your main event? The Bloodline Civil War needs to be the main event of Money in the Bank. Period. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that. That was my SmackDown review from June 30th, 2023. Overall thoughts on this go-home show. It was a pretty good go-home show. Was it the best go-home show? No. Was it the best SmackDown show overall? No, by a long shot. But really what made this show what it was the atmosphere in London. You guys in London are fucking crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy. Tomorrow is, of course, Money in the Bank, and that's going to be crazy. Of course, I wanted to make a little bit of an announcement. I'm not going to be covering AEW Collision tomorrow. I'm actually going to be covering AEW Collision on Sunday because, of course, tomorrow night, I'm going to be covering Money in the Bank. So be on the lookout for the Money in the Bank review as well as the AEW Collision review. So be on the lookout for those videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, of course, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the Squared Circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, this is Flamin' Ricky DeRays signing out. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the review of Money in the Bank. Peace.